So, this year we are starting out with this chapter 7, thinking. They are specifying that after reading this chapter, we would be able to describe the nature of thinking and reasoning, demonstrate an understanding of some cognitive processes involved in problem solving and decision making, understand the nature and process of creative thinking and learn ways of enhancing it, understand the relationship between language and thought, डिस्क्राइब द प्रोसेस ऑफ लैंग्वेज डेवलपमेंट एंड इट्स यूज़। क्या क्या सीखने को हमें मिलेगा इसमें। द नेचर ऑफ थिंकिंग एंड रीजनिंग। रीजनिंग इज़ द प्रोसेस थ्रू विच वी प्रोसेस द थाट्स। Demonstrate an understanding of some cognitive processes involved in problem solving and decision making. Usually, what do we think about? Right now, you can see this and you can be like, okay, yellow is a color. So we think about the inputs that are around us. We are our environment, the people who are around us, the Instagram reels that we scroll, the movies that we watch, the books that we read, the friends that we have. We think about that. Herein it's saying that they'll be explaining us the mental cognitive processes, how our mind functions at the time of problem solving and decision making. Good thing. Understand the nature and process of creative thinking and learn ways of enhancing it. How to think and how to think creatively and how to enhance that. Understand the relationship between language and thought. So, thinking happens how? Thinking right now is happening in the language which is English, because some people know Marathi, some know Hindi, some know Kannada, but all of you know English. So right now we are all trying to think through the language which is English. So what is the relationship between language and thought, and describe the process of language development and its use. Anyone who is really good at language can articulate themselves well. We can see and we have seen that people who have been blessed with an articulate ability basically also means that they can think clearly, because they have a more defined, more wide dictionary of words to analyze and assess that yes, they can explain something in 10 ways. Why? Because they have a bigger vocabulary. So this is what they are going to teach as such. What are the contents? So introduction, nature of thinking, process of thinking, which would be very important, problem solving, reasoning, decision making, creative thinking, thought and language. So this is what they discussed and how it's developed. Herein there is a quote, but whatever the process, the result is wonderful. Gradually, from naming an object, we advance step by step until we have traversed the vast difference between our first stammered syllable and the sweep of thought in a line of a Shakespeare. So it's like we start by just, how do we learn? So chapter 5 was about learning. How do we learn? In baby steps, in small steps. So gradually, how it so happens that, when we were little, this is how we used to write, almost like this. We used to frame an A like this, and then this, then B would be like this, and then lines would be broken like this, and we will be leaving it like this, and then someone would be like, what is C? Okay, this is C, and then D. Oh, this is D. No, I thought this is B, and this is D, and this is D, and this is B. How confused we were. And this is what Helen Keller wishes us to understand, that but whatever the process, the result is wonderful. Gradually, from naming an object, we advance step by step until we have transversed the vast difference between a first stammered syllable and the sweep of thought in the line of Shakespeare. Sometimes I think that everything has its pros and cons, right? So if a person does not have a lot of vocabulary, how will they be disturbed by overthinking? So in a way, if you try to understand that maybe a person with a very low vocabulary won't have anxiety based on overthinking, because won't find words, and then words have a deep impact in our life. So That is why, and that is where affirmations come in, that is where positive thinking comes and negative thinking comes in, that the words that we repeat in our mind create our belief systems and then define our life. So this here Helen Keller just is trying to give a hint in regards to how the process is gradual but the result is amazing, wonderful, as she says. And we understood a bit that maybe in a way language is helpful, but how to not think also, how to use thinking to not think, how to be processed so that we not overthink. So my approach to teaching psychology also would include in times, in every paragraph or chapter, an essence of okay, we learn thinking, but then what about overthinking? Why does overthinking happen? What can we do about it? So I've taken up psychology teaching as also a specific goal in my mind, that we also wish to learn about life and our personality should develop. We may not all become psychologists, or may use psychology in different areas like HR, maybe as an organizational psychologist, maybe in teaching, maybe in business. But in ethics, in thinking, we become better when we understand how our mind processes things. So that's an objective that I wish to communicate. So, introduction. Think for a moment how many times, in what ways you are using the word think in your day to day conversation. Sometimes, probably, use it as a synonym to remember, I can't think of her name. Pay attention, think about it. Or convey certainty. I think today my friend will visit me. Think has a wide range of meanings which can cover a number of psychological processes. However, in psychology, thinking is a core subject area with an independent existence and a meaning of its own. Although thinking can be used to, I can think of her name, I think today my friend will visit me, I'll think about it. But herein they are saying that thinking, okay, it has been used informally in many contexts which are fine on its own, but when it comes to psychology, the subject area, it has its own independent existence and its own meaning. In this chapter, we will discuss the thinking as a mental activity directed at solving a problem, making inferences, judging certain facts, and deciding and choosing between options. In this chapter, we will discuss thinking as a mental activity directed towards solving a problem, making inferences, we'll understand what inferences are in the future, judging certain facts, and deciding and choosing between two options. So, we do mental activity to solve a problem, to judge certain things, to decide between two options or more. Further, the nature and characteristics of creative thinking, what it involves and how it can be developed. What are the nature and characteristics of creative thinking, what it involves, and how it can be developed will also be discussed. Now, they are coming with examples. Have you ever seen a small child building a tower with blocks or sand? The child would build a tower, dismantle it, make another one, and so on and so forth. While doing this, the child sometimes talks to herself or himself. The speech would primarily include steps as he is following or want to follow. Not this, a little small, a tray at the back, evaluation of the design, nice. You also might have experienced talking to yourself while solving a problem. I'm teaching, okay. I had to change the color because above was theory, this is a new story. So changing the color would be fine. This thought would have occurred in my mind that made me change the color. So you might also have experienced talking to yourself while solving a problem. Yes, sometimes we think in our mind, sometimes we speak out loud. Additionally, I think that speaking out loud our thoughts has been of great help. So from writing our thoughts down to journaling them gives them a form, but talking also helps in a way that it, see, when we go to a psychologist or a counselor or a friend, when we talk to them, what happens? We somehow feel relieved. That is because of their peaceful energy, their love showered to us through their eyes, but more or less also because when we start to speak, our breathing starts to change. So I always recommend that whenever there is some critical thinking to be done, you should do that while writing and also speaking. So speaking so that you feel relieved, speaking so that your breath changes, speaking so that you feel that you're talking out loud, you're listening to yourself, and writing so that you can remember the thought process until that point of time. Why do we talk while we think? What is the relationship between language and thought? In this chapter, we shall also be discussing the development of language and the relationship between language and thought. Before starting our discussion on thinking, it is necessary to discuss thinking as the base of human cognition. Nature of thinking. Thinking is the base of all cognitive activities or processes and is unique to human beings. Unique to human beings. Why is it unique to human beings? Because only we can formulate thoughts, write, process things, and also devote our life towards God. We are not just animals. Animal gets birth, eats food, bears children, dies. Many of us do the same, but the purpose of human life is not just doing this. We are born, we have some fun, we die. No, the purpose of human existence is that we realize an elevation in our consciousness. We understand or try to understand the depth of philosophy. What is it that's written in the Gita? Why do people just do puja? What is the purpose behind it? What is Bhakti Yoga? How is this person who is so smart actually also is chanting the name of God? Would chanting the name of God bring God in our life? Is God so small that just chanting their name is something that God will feel relieved with? These are questions that actually have answers, but since no one could give any answers to them, we kind of moved away from spirituality and religion because the people who were around us weren't logically spiritual. They just became spiritual. They didn't have all the logics. But if you wish, we can discuss these logics over a weekend where we can go into understanding the Gita. So, thinking is a cognitive activity which is unique to human beings. It involves manipulation and analysis. Manipulation and analysis of information received from the environment. For example, while seeing a painting, you are not simply focusing on the color of the painting or the lines and strokes. Rather, you are going beyond the given text in interpreting its meaning. You are trying to relate the information to your existing knowledge. When we are seeing a painting, we are not simply focusing on the color of the painting or the lines and strokes. Rather, you are going beyond the given text in interpreting its meaning. We see it as a whole. If I show a mountain and a river and a tree, we all have drawn that in our childhood. Everyone would have a different memory. Some would take a river through the mountains, some would make it different, some would say that they want a house like that, some would be like there should be cricket going on, some would be like there is mango on the tree, some would be like there would be an apple on the tree. We try to relate the information to your existing knowledge, also our biases, also our preferences, also our interests. Understanding of the painting involves creation of a new meaning that is added to your knowledge. Thinking, therefore, is a higher mental process through which we manipulate and analyze the acquired or existing information. Thinking, therefore, is a higher mental process through which we manipulate and analyze the acquired or existing information. Every time we go around, whatever it is that we do, if we read one book and we read another book, there is a process of unlearning and learning that's continuously happening. We see, we learn, we understand. Such manipulation and analysis occurs by the means of abstracting, reasoning, imagining, problem solving, judging, and decision making. Although we have not studied, but The core of this is perception. Through our consciousness, we perceive, and we perceive also based on our biases and what we are. So, I am a career counselor. Sometimes I read, while I'm driving, I see somewhere it's like a courier parcel service. So, whenever I see courier, my mind always reads it as courier. So, what happens? I read it, everyone would have read it, almost 80% of the people would have read it as courier in Hindi, but I read it as career because that's what I am involved with. Therefore, thinking is a higher mental process through which we manipulate and analyze the acquired or existing information. Such manipulation and analysis occurs by the means of abstracting, reasoning, imagining, problem solving, judging, and decision making. Thinking is mostly organized and goal directed, but such is not the case with a person in anxiety. Although they are also goal oriented, that they want to solve a problem, but once you see that a person who is too anxious or is getting into panic attacks or has been diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder or is just overthinking and panicking, just bring them to their mind that what's the objective of life. The objective of life is to be at peace, and whatever it is that you're thinking about and aiming for, like right now we are studying psychology, some of you might have a goal that you want to score 100, 95, 90. That's not my objective while I'm teaching this. My objective is that I can relate to you some case studies. You score a 75, 80, 85, I don't mind, unless you enjoy the process. This process while we are studying, the process when you actually think about things in regards to what we've studied. In the process of learning psychology, we develop as better human beings, more ethical, more understanding of our thought processes and feelings. We understand how problems are created, how thinking is related to language, but then language also creates overthinking, and then now they are mentioning that thinking is mostly organized and goal directed. So, if the objective of life is somehow to come to a state of peace and contentment, can't we be at peace and contentment right now? Yes. Who is dealing it? Us. Why? Our own goals. Yes, thinking is goal directed. What is the goal of life? Peace. Attaining to God. Love of God. But we do have different goals. So, a person who wants money and has money as their goal, anything that they see will become a business thing, will become monetary oriented. Any person who goes through a breakup, in every song that they listen to, whenever they see a flower or a sky, all they do is think about their partner. Why? In their mind, the goal is fulfillment. In all our minds, the goal is fulfillment. Although, when seen after 40 years, we realize that whatever we thought that could fulfill us never kind of fulfilled us. Anything that we received, once we received it, its value went away. All day-to-day activities ranging from cooking to solving a math problem have a goal. One desires to reach the goal by planning, recalling the steps that one has already followed in the past if the task is familiar, or inferring strategies if the task is new. So, whenever we think about cooking food, okay, firstly I have to wash the utensil, then I'll put the water, then I'll boil it, then I will be cutting vegetables. Oh, I'll put that vegetable which is the most time taking to cook, so I'll put that one first, and then now I'm making rice. So, okay, I'm cleaning the rice, and then I'm putting the rice after the vegetable, and then in the next 30 minutes I'll be putting on some of the masalas and things like that, and then the food would be made. So it requires planning, step by step planning. Thinking is an internal mental process which can be inferred from overt behavior. It is an internal mental process which can be inferred by overt behavior. They have given an example for this. If you see a chess player engrossed in thinking for several minutes before making a move, you cannot observe what he is thinking. How can we see how words are being formulated and planning and thinking is done in someone's mind? We cannot. You can simply infer that what he was thinking or what strategies he was trying to evaluate from the next move. So once the move is made, we can analyze that okay, this person actually calculated 50 moves ahead. Chess players do that. They think about every probability move that they are going to make. So let's say a chess player has uh, one move, he is thinking this is the second move, this is the third move, this is the fourth move, this is the fifth move. So let's say a chess player is thinking of 5 moves. In this process, he is also thinking that after I make this move, this person will make this move, and then I'll make this move and this move and this move and this move, this much ahead in this line of thought. Then in this line of thought again, I'll make this move, he'll make this move, I'll make this move, he'll make this move, I'll make this move, she'll make this move. So it's like so many strands of thoughts actually happen. So how is this visible? It's visible through behavior. We cannot see the mental processes, but we can see it through the behavior. We see that someone, shouts at us, or someone is very loving towards us, or someone behaves in a very unorganized or aggressive manner. Before that, their thought processes, what were they? We really do not know. And sometimes even in law, when a person is given a judgment, the thought process, the intention matters to the court. Yes, the action was that someone was killed, but that killing, if it happened in self-defense, that person will not get jailed. If it happened when the person was not in sound mind, that means that the person was drugged or was in the intoxicated state of alcohol or is not mentally stable, they will not be punished as much as a normal person would. So we have to understand that thinking is a blessing towards which has become a curse, because we have not been able to structure our life. We have not learned to think rightly. We have not learned to process things rightly. While thinking how to think, we have to think how to not think. We will think but not overthink. We will think but we will drop thinking to come to a state of no mind. Because that is where peace is. You'll go to sleep and you get up and you are rejuvenated. But if you have bad dreams, you feel like you haven't slept at all. It is in the state of no thought where we rejuvenate, where we come to a state of peace. So this is just a basic structure that I wanted to create of this chapter. We'll proceed further tomorrow. So yeah, bye. If you have any questions, please send a WhatsApp message.